Okay, so next we're going to go to the actual configuration of SNMP on both the ASA and the iOS. So we're going to configure, like, for example, going in here, we're going to configure router 2 and ASA 3 as my agents, my SNMP agents, and server A is going to be my SNMP manager. And I'm going to configure both agents, both router 2 and ASA 3, to send, of course, via SNMP version 3, to send traps to the manager, traps. There's a question from, before we get going, from Piyush. Can you show some configuration example of SNMP agent? So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to configure both the ASA and the iOS as the SNMP version 3 agent. How can we configure agent for the SNMP server? You cannot. So you have to configure both the server and the agent independently to speak one with another. You're gonna see up next as I'm going to do the configuration. So you have to configure both the agent and the server to speak with each other. You cannot do the configuration on one side only, clearly for security reasons. So let's go on router 2 and follow that step-by-step configuration. Conf-t. So we say, first of all, the group, SNMP group, and let's call it a group of, let's say, sense group. We define the model, version 3, of course, and we define the security model. Let's say we want to use priv, which means both authentication and privacy. And we don't specify any views, read, write, or notify. I'll leave it open. It's not the scope of the security class to speak about views, but of course, optionally, you can put in there what kind of you can attach in here one type of those views, and of course, you have to configure those views to begin with. So priv, I've defined a group which all the users member to this group are going to have to use auth privacy security model, which means both authentication and encryption. Next step, SNMP server user, let's say sense user, which is a member of which group. He needs to know of which group is he a member, because the group defines the security model. So because this user is a member of that group, which security model is privacy, which means both authentication and privacy, it means we have to define in here both the authentication. What do I use? MD5, let's say, and the password. So the user is going to be sense user, password is going to be, let's say, sense pass, smalls. And because the group's model is privacy, we have to also configure privacy parameters, which means what is the algorithm I'm going to be using, let's say triple this, and what is the password which is going to be used in order to derive the encryption key. Password is, what is the encryption key there? So I'm going to say triple this, and the password is going to be, for encryption, is going to be, let's say, sense encrypt. I have done those two steps. It says configure SNMP user, persisting SNMP engine boots, please wait. It's actually enabling the SNMP agent properly. And the last step is going to be SNMP server, because I want to send traps, host, server A, 172.16.10.100, version 3. If you don't specify, by default it's going to be traps. If you don't specify traps or informs, let's put traps just to make sure, traps. Then what is the username? When I'm gonna send traps to that server, then I'm going to authenticate those traps using what? A community for V1 or V2C, or a username for V3. So I'm going to use that username of sense user. I'm going to say version 3. If you say show run section SNMP, you see the group and you don't see the user configuration. So if you say show run include username, and that is by design. So you see the server group with the security model configured. You see the host in order to send traps, but you don't see the user being configured, and that's for security reasons, to defend against shoulder watching. So the user is not kept in the show running configuration. If you say show SNMP group, you're gonna see in here we have some default groups for different for V1 for example, or for V2C for example. So don't care about those ones. For V3 in here, a matter of privacy, we have this group configured. It has the default read view assigned, no write view because there's no default write view, but we have a default read view, and no default notified view specified. So the group has been configured. If you say show SNMP users, then what we see in here is the username. What is the hashing algorithm? What is the privacy algorithm for encryption? What is that? The fact that this username is a member of Sense group, but the credentials, the authentication password, and the key for encryption, it's stored in non-volatile RAM. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's stored in the same location in here as the private key as well, in the private config. So for security reasons, the username password and the encryption password in there is not stored, is not visible in clear text for security reasons. If you say there NVRAM private config, you're not going to be able to see in there, you're not allowed to see what the content of that directory. So it tells you something, but nothing else really. This is a, so as you can see, you don't have any rights to that file. While for the startup config file, you have read-write access. For this file, we have no rights whatsoever. Likewise, the persistent data, I'm not sure if actually the SNMP credentials are stored in the persistent data, could be, but likewise, it's the same thing. We have no rights in there. Because when SNMP got enabled in here, instead of that, configuring user persisting SNMP engine boots, please wait. Okay. So I'm done with the configuration on Router 2. Now I gotta go on the SNMP server manager and also configure the integration with Router 2. Let's go on the server. So I'm gonna open up Manage Engine MIB browser. So we should be able to say file. We should be able to add a new device. Okay, there you go. Hello host. So let's say the IP address of router 2, which is going to be 172.16.10.2 on that interface. Let's confirm that around show IP interface brief. 172.16.10.2. So host is going to be named We should be able to say file and add. It said load all MIBs. Okay. And edit settings. There we go. So v3, and we set in here of add to add a new device, target host 172.16.10.2. Username was sense user. Security level is going to be auth-priv. MD5 is authentication. And triple des. Okay, triple des is not supported. Let's actually run AES. Let's run this. And let's change the configuration on router 1 for that. So let's go on router 2. Let's say show run. I'm going to reconfigure that user actually to use this encryption, because data manager doesn't support triple des. We should be able to say this configuration back again and modify SNMP user. SNMP server, not host, server, and let's paste that again. User that, and privacy is going to be this with a password of this, of let's say sense pass as well, or let's say sense encryption. So let's go on the manager. So authentication password was sense pass. And the privileged password was sense encryption. I'm gonna say OK. Authentication protocol, authentication password may be wrong. I think there is a limit on the number of those. Let's say authentication password to be sense and encryption password to be likewise sense. Keep it simple. Say apply. Maybe wrong. It means that it tries to connect to the router. Let's remove this user. Do show SNMP user, and we've recreated. Do show SNMP user. Okay, SNMP server user, sense user, member of sense group version 3. Authentication MD5 with, let's say, the password being sense, and privacy this with being sense as well. Do show SNMP user. Looks good now. So let's say sense user, and the password for authentication and encryption was both sense. And of course, not SHA but MD5, but that was a problem. And let's say apply. And there we go. Okay. Okay. So now we have added that successfully, which means, for example, let's fire up a trap. So let's go in here and let's say view trap viewer, authenticate v3 trap, and let's say start. And let's go on the router and let's fire up a trap, which means let's shut down one interface. I'm gonna go on router 2 and shut down gig01 interface. Shut down, and no shutdown. Let's say debug SNMP packets. Show run include SNMP to make sure I've configured traps to be sent in version 3 format. Show SNMP host. Oh, so that's the problem. It's version 1 model. There we go. So for whatever reason, didn't pick up the version. Security model is so version 3, and then the user. Priv and the user. So show SNMP host. Now it's better, version 3 privilege, and I'm sending traps to that server. So let's flap the link again. And let's also do, if the debug is turned on, let's leave it up. Let's leave it turned on. Interface gig01 shut down. And no shutdown. Let me show I can still ping server A. And I can, and no shutdown. Show debug. So no message was being sent. Show run interface gig01. By default, it should send traps when link goes down. SNMP trap link status. Do show run interface gig01. So it's built in there. Show SNMP host. Show SNMP group. Sends group version 3 in there. Notify view, it is correct. So users member to that group are using that model, and because I've enabled the SNMP server host command, beat default notify view was created, so it should send traps in there. Show debug. Debug SNMP. Packets is debugged on, let's say, detail. And let's shut down again gig01. Show interface gig01. Shut down, no shutdown. Let's leave it a bit more to stay down. It may be that the SNMP is gonna be notified a bit delayed. Show debug. Show logging. Let me say show its login is enabled at the console. Console level is debugging, so I should see the message. Show SNMP host. Do show run include SNMP. Let's do this. Once I've enabled that, so to send traps in there, let's make sure that I properly, there we go, it says table lookup failed. Let's enable the traps for what I'm trying to do for link, not license. We can control which traps to be enabled. Let's say for the SNMP, should be able to put in there the interface somewhere. Although all of them are enabled by default, I want just to put it specifically. Let's remove this command and put it back again to see if it shows up the same error message. It says make already frag from dot failed. Table lookup failed. Notification. So make already frag from dot means I'm starting from the root from the dot, and it fails to properly read the table of MIBs. SNMP trap link status permit. Yeah, but it's on by default. Let's say no shot. So it seems that router has a problem with SNMP. So note this and put it back. Let's leave it as it is, and I'm going to come back in here in a couple and debug all. Maybe it's going to recover by itself, otherwise I'm going to reboot it. And let's go in the SH feed and configure the same.